Okay, 7 o'clock. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to do this YouTube live with you. If you are here, be sure to let me know in the YouTube chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And yeah, essentially, what this live is going to be about is dating as a successful woman, which I know the vast majority of you are. If you're driven, if you're ambitious, if you're successful, you have to learn how to navigate things because when you're a triple threat, it's definitely more difficult in certain aspects. From Jersey. Hi, Christine. Okay, so from Seattle. Awesome. Oh, this is so exciting to see where you guys are tuning in from. Okay. So essentially how this live is going to work is I'm going to talk about a few different things. If you do have some questions that come up, I'll be monitoring the chat, and if I do see any questions, then I'll answer them. But I think that to start things off, the number one dating rule I think all women should follow is never forgive a behavior or a pattern you're not willing to experience more than once. I'm all for forgiving mistakes, but when it comes to behaviors and patterns, oftentimes what you forgive ends up being the reason why you end up breaking up later. And how it starts is how it will continue. And so often I will have people writing to me and they'll say, "LA, I met this guy at the gym. I met this guy at work. And the thing is that we were friends for a really long time. And, he would date other women, but I just think that we connect so well. And I thought that over time, he would realize that our connection was really strong and he would be able to, see my value and obviously commit to me. But the thing is that men are painfully obvious. When a man wants you, he will make it known and he will make it happen. It's not the woman he needed months or even years to figure out he wanted to be in a relationship with. Oftentimes, that's more so for women. Sometimes a woman will be friends with a guy for months, years, and then they'll realize, wow, he's such an incredible guy. And then she'll give it a shot, and then the relationship will work out. I almost never see relationships work out where it was the guy who really needed to take his time and needed to figure out that the woman that was by his side through everything was actually the woman he was meant to be with. And so I think that is number one. I think next, when it comes to dating as a successful woman, men do not fall in love through the things that you do for them. They fall in love through working for you and what they get to do for you. And this is really hard for a lot of you because that same mindset of I'll do it myself, like I'm this boss bitch, I don't need anybody to do anything for me, that gets you so far in terms of your career, your finances, your body. You have everything. But when you bring that mentality into your relationship of, I can do everything, you end up doing everything. And then you write to me and you say, Hallie, I feel like his mother. I feel like I constantly have to manage him and I hate feeling this way. And so when you learn how to receive with grace, feeling like, okay, this man can pay for dinner and I don't have to Venmo him afterwards. I don't have to do anything. And the thing is that a guy who's really into you, he will be so happy to do these things. He's not going to make you feel bad. And the thing is that a guy who does make you feel bad is a guy that's not worth pursuing because it's not just that, it's that he's not generous. It's that he's transactional. It's that he's constantly worried about what he's going to get out of it. And so that is something I think you should really pay attention to. Um, oh, from Melbourne. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can start asking me if you have them. And obviously, I'll get through them when I can. Next is walk away after the first sign of disrespect. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, you know, it's hard for me to find someone that I even connect with. And so when I do connect with someone and they do make a mistake, I don't want to ruin things by walking away too soon. Understand that someone who values the relationship just as much is going to go into it with that same level of intentionality, knowing, what, I don't want to mess things up. And he's not going to let things add up to the point where you want to walk away. And the thing is that I want you to think of it kind of like a job, like a dream job. If you have a dream job, and especially early on in the early stages of dating, in the first 90 days, in that probationary period, you know that if you're working that job, you cannot mess things up. You have to be able to perform. You have to be able to act in a way that builds trust through that consistency and through that effort. Any advice after divorce when it comes to dating? I think that sometimes women will go back into the dating scene after a divorce, and in the first couple of dates, they will tell this person all of the bad things that happened in their marriage and ultimately what led to it falling apart. And I think that there are certain things that you should just keep for you, that should stay between, you and a therapist, you and a trusted coach, you and your journal, because sometimes what you're actually doing is you're showing this person that you actually have a very high tolerance for nonsense. And I know what you're going to say, but I told him that those were all the reasons why I left. But that's the thing. If you say that, it took you getting to this point to walk away, he might think, okay, well, if I treat her, and I get her to this point, then she's not going to leave me. And oftentimes they will think of it as kind of, okay, if I just treat her just a little bit better, then she's not gonna walk away. And it really is those same guys that are, getting all of this information early on that end up, disrespecting you in those same ways. So do not give him any ideas. If you are going to talk about how the relationship ended, then you can. But don't get into insane detail. Don't say, he did this 50 times. Be like, you know what? It got to this point where I realized, we were growing apart and it became disrespectful and I knew I just needed to leave. That is a much better way to navigate a conversation like that than by airing out all of your dirty laundry at once. I love all your content about dismissive avoidance since I just had my first experience and breakup with one. Uh, is it likely I'll find a good man? I have 4 kids, 1 to 13 years. I want you to understand that the richest man in the world is engaged to a mother of, I think, 2 or 3 children, and she has 2 different baby fathers, okay? That did not stop him from, seeing her value and from him putting a ring on it. And so I think that when you meet a guy who actually cares about you, he won't care how many kids you have. And I think that women are often told that if you have children, then you're damaged, then you're going to be difficult to date. But I don't see it that way whatsoever. Hi from Vermont. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. What other questions do you guys have? Um, Next, I wanted to talk about tests and things that men do to get you to chase them. Okay. Number one is he will make plans with you. He will schedule a date. And then the time will come around where it's the day of, and he won't text you. He won't reach out. And what he wants you to do is he wants you to be like, "Oh, you said we were having these plans. Why haven't you reached out?" And he'll see if you're going to chase him. If a man does this to you, do not fall for it. Okay. He made these plans. He said that he was going to take you out on Saturday night at 6 p.m. If he does not confirm with you 24 hours before, then I want you to make other plans, because I think the worst thing that you can do is show him just how pressed you are. Because the thing is that a guy who's interested, he will keep up that communication. He won't just cut things off and then wait for you to chase him. And like I mentioned before, how it starts is how it will continue. I think another way men unconsciously or subconsciously test women is by talking about all of these options that he has and how these women approach him and this, that, and the other. I think that the best response to this is just with disinterest and like talk about something else instead of focusing on these other women and making them important. Be like, oh, Okay. Anyways, so I was like planning on getting this new Lululemon outfit, and I noticed that they came out with like this fuchsia color, and I thought it would look really good with my manicure and just completely change the conversation so that he knows that, you're secure in yourself. And why would a guy want to bring up another woman in conversation with you? It's just really inappropriate. Hi from Toronto. Oh, this is awesome. Great. Yeah. So feel free to add your questions and yeah, we'll get through all of them. Also, I was going to ask you guys when it comes to dating, what do you think the toughest aspect is it the early on stages in, kind of setting the tone, or is it in making sure that you maintain that level of respect throughout the relationship? I'd really like to know. I'd love to know your input on no contact after a breakup. When it comes to no contact, a lot of people go into it with a half-ass mentality. If you are going no contact, I want you to quite literally treat this person as if they have passed away, okay? You can go no contact with a person and still creep their Instagram profile, seeing if their following has gone up or down, seeing their comments, seeing if he's liked any Instagram photos of these girls. No. When you go no contact, you go all out. Okay. You're not looking at their social media. You're not looking at their WhatsApp. You're not looking at their Facebook friends. You're not creeping their parents to see if they've posted a family photo and there's a new girl in the photo. You're not creeping their friends. You're not creeping his friends' stories. You're not doing any of this on a burner account. You literally need to focus on yourself because a lot of you are walking away from these relationships with people who are so avoidant that you think that just by cutting them off and not speaking to them is enough. No, you are on something called a partial variable reinforcement schedule, and inconsistent rewards drive addictive behaviors. And so that uncertainty that you end up trying to soothe by looking through their social media, that doesn't end by just not speaking to them. It ends when you finally cut off all communication and you stop creeping them entirely and you just focus on where you are going. I want you to envision what your life is going to look like without this person. And I want you to get excited. I want you to think about all the things that you are going to get to do now that this person isn't in your life. I want you to think about the disrespect you no longer have to put up with. And I want you to start to create positive momentum. I something that I recommend to a lot of my clients is if you are in the early stages of no contact, I want you to print out one of these. I have kind of one of these. It's kind of like a plan for the week. But if you can get a monthly calendar and every day that you maintain no contact, you cross that off, that is going to make you feel so much better about yourself. Because every day that you maintain no contact, you are building the identity of someone who never needed this person. You're rebuilding that trust and confidence with yourself. Because I know that if you are with an avoidant, I know that there came a time where you bent some boundaries. You did things that you never thought that you would do. And so when you are able to keep your promises, that's when you're going to start to take your power back and you're going to start to feel excited to date again. Opinions on dating apps like Hinge. I hate using them, but I feel like it's so hard to meet people organically. I don't think that dating apps are inherently bad. I just think that you need to pay attention to how much time you're putting into it. And the thing is that your main focus should be on yourself. And so 80% of, your time should go into like feeding into your career, your goals, your health. And, when you get to it, when you get through your entire to-do list, then okay, go on to the dating apps and see, okay, has this person matched with me? Are we talking? But the thing is that I think that the conversation should stay in the dating app for an extended amount of period because so often guys will ask for your number or they'll ask for your social media and then they'll take it onto a different platform. You have to make this person earn everything that they get from you. Make them earn your phone number. Why don't you go on a few dates with this person before you give them your social media profile? Because I think that is what is going to allow you to really pace yourself and not get overly invested too soon. And so I don't think dating apps are bad, but I think you need to be paying attention to how much time you're actually giving to them. And also turn off the notifications, all the, oh, this person swiped right on, this person sent you a rose, this person sent you flowers. Just really focus on how much time you're giving. No contact for 2 months now. What if he comes back and says he's willing to get professional help for his addictions? That's the thing. I want you to think about the last time you did something for the first time. And when it comes to people that have, these addictive behaviors, for them to take that new action is already highly unlikely, even if they really want to, because what it comes down to is they need better emotional regulation skills. They need better ways to cope with situations. And those changes don't happen overnight. They happen over a series of months or even years. And that's the thing. Sometimes people only feel compelled to change when they feel the loss and the consequences of their own actions. And so, even if he comes back and he's like, okay, I'm going to seek help, he knows that you're right there next to him, guiding him through the process. Let him sit with the uncertainty and the consequences of knowing that if you don't get your life together, I'm not always going to be there, because that is what a mother does. A mother will see, my son, he's going through all this stuff, he's going through an addiction. And so I told him that, if he wants to talk to me, he has to seek that help. And he knows mommy is going to be right there holding his hand. So I would not recommend that. What about men who are in committed relationships and seek their exes? I Okay, let me see. Are things better now? Can you let me know in the YouTube live chat? Okay. Okay, things are better now. Okay, great. Let's see. It stopped on the men who seek their exes while in a committed relationship. Okay, when it comes to men who seek their exes in a committed relationship, it's because when it comes to avoidance, they tend to fantasize about a reality that they don't currently have. It's always about the grass being greener on the other side. And so long as you stay away, you feed into that fantasy. But if you were to actually come back, he would devalue you again and feel like, oh, I don't actually want to be with her. And so the best thing that you can do is just to not participate in these games and be the one that got away and stayed away. Because so long as you stay away, then he's constantly going to feel that regret. But you can only feel regret when there's actual loss, when you realize, wow, I can't actually get that relationship back. And so that is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Why does my dismissive avoidant ex have such a hard time letting go of an ex who needs help with her son? He left the door open for her to ask for parenting help, and now they're casually seeing each other. One is, I think that he still loves her and he still cares deeply for her. And I think two is that oftentimes avoidants have a very hard time being the bad guy. And so they will put that above your own feelings. And so they won't be able to hurt another woman's feelings to save yours. And so it's always about maintaining that image that keeps everybody happy, even if it's to your own detriment. And so I think that's part of it. And ultimately you get to decide if that is good enough for you, because a person is going to behave the way they want to behave, and you decide, okay, do I want more of this? Do I want less of this? But ultimately he's shown you that he's going to prioritize that relationship above yours. And so that is something you need to keep in mind. Why do avoidants always victimize themselves? because being because if they were to look at the actions that have contributed to their current reality, if they were to take responsibility for the hurt that they've inflicted on others, then that would cause them to actually look and uncover the shame. And the thing is that they have so much shame and they don't know how to emotionally regulate themselves, that they would rather deflect. Because I want you to remember the avoidance mantra. An avoidance mantra is this: if I never let if I never feel too deeply, then I will never be hurt too badly. And so this mantra actually ends up stopping them from feeling very deep connections, and they end up sabotaging relationships with people who could be so good for them. And so they end up by themselves. And it's actually so sad to see. But ultimately, people can only help themselves. And if you end up staying by an avoidant side when they have shown you that they don't have the emotional regulation skills, that they aren't able to be that partner that you need, then you actually end up enabling the behavior. Yes, I feel like my exes get himself into situations where he can't get himself out or he doesn't know how to. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. I'm kind of liking these avoidant questions. What other questions do you have about avoidance? Do they always wait, let's see. Any advice on realizing you've been enabling these behaviors after being in the relationship for a while? Is it possible to reverse it or is it too late? I think that it's not impossible to reverse, but it's just important to realize that they are going to get annoyed and they're going to be upset. And that actually might make them lose interest in the relationship. I want you to kind of think of it like going to a coffee shop, okay? You go to a coffee shop, you've been going there for years, and then all of a sudden, that oat milk latte that you've been paying $5 for is now $7 every time that you go. And the thing is that they're obviously going to notice a change that, wow, okay, I have to invest more into maintaining the same level of connection that was fine for years prior. And yes, they're going to get upset, but it's not about being liked by an avoidant that is important. It's about being respected. Because when you think about healthy relationships, there has to be that healthy level of respect. And if he doesn't respect you, he's never going to respect your boundaries. I'm sure that there's people that you've met that sure you like them, but do you respect them? No. And it's hard to respect a person who is trying so hard for you to like and accept them. Because think about it. There are people that you meet that you don't even know much about them, but you already don't like them. Does them overcompensating make you like and respect them more? No, it makes you want to stay away from them. And so I think that the first step is to one is analyze the behavior that needs to be changed. And then I want you to substitute it for something else. I want you to be able to emotionally regulate in those moments because chances are the reason why it's gotten to that point is because when they pull away or when they emotionally shut down, you cannot handle it. And so you are the one that goes into overdrive. You are the one that is trying to resolve the problem that they created. And so you have to be willing to stand on your own 2 feet and be like, okay, I'm actually not going to participate in this, and you have to be willing to walk away. And being willing to walk away is not just something that you say, it's something that you demonstrate. You show it through your lack of interest, through the loss of energy you give them, through the loss of affection. And when you do that over time, that is what's going to show them that, wow, okay, I'm actually losing this person. But sometimes it can take weeks or even months for them to realize that change. And so I don't think it's impossible or it's too late, but it will take time and you do have to be consistent with it. And so you need to really be able to ask yourself, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to be disciplined enough to show up in a different way? Because I think the answer to that question is going to ultimately dictate what happens next. Do you think they come back? Yes and no. When an avoidant comes back, it's not going to be in the way that you want. And if you lean anxious, you're going to want the big romantic gesture. You're going to want them knocking down your door. You're going to want all of those things. But the thing is that for an avoidant that is way too emotionally vulnerable and they're not going to do that. And so what it's going to look like is they're going to start looking at your Instagram story. They're going to start looking at your WhatsApp profile. They might do little things to kind of test your temperature to see, okay, can I still get in here? Can I still elicit a reaction? And the thing is that if you maintain no contact, they may, actually reach out and try to talk to you. But the thing is that ultimately what you are teaching them is that what he did to, cause this breakup is ultimately acceptable, because if it was unacceptable, you wouldn't be talking to him. And so it actually ends up becoming a detriment to your own growth by taking him back. And so, yes, he could come back, but it's not necessarily because he's changed or because um, he wants to be a better man. It's often because the people that he was so certain were better than you actually weren't better. And he's looking for, a place to stay emotionally before he um, goes on to somebody else. And sometimes they don't come back. Sometimes the reason why they don't come back is because they realized that you won't even tolerate it, and they actually feel embarrassed. And so they could watch you from afar, they could regret losing you, but they feel so ashamed for what they did. They know, okay, she's not going to tolerate my nonsense again. And they know that if they were to come back, they would be humiliating themselves. And so they would rather not try whatsoever. Why are we labeling a dismissive avoidant as a relationship style, or truly just not interested in ourselves? Can a dismissive avoidant behavior be the same for the other? Are they a better person with the other? I think that with every person you meet, your attachment style is going to activate in a different way. Just like I'm sure you've been in a relationship with someone who didn't trigger your attachment style, where you never felt anxious, you felt quite secure. Or maybe they were even more anxious than you and it actually turned you off. But I think that there is a polarity in relationships. There are going to be times where one person is more of the pursuer and the other one is more of the receiver. And throughout a relationship, it goes up and down. When you have kids, you might be less of the pursuer because you have so much going on, and so your partner ends up pursuing you more. Or it's the opposite. You have kids and you have so much responsibility and your partner withdraws and then you end up chasing after them. And so I think it's ultimately how you show up that determines um, how that attachment style is activated. But I think that when it comes to avoidance are triggered by so little that it often doesn't change, even with another person, unless an avoidant gets into a relationship with another avoidant that is even more avoidant than them, that they end up becoming anxious. And so that's what I think. Um, is there such a thing as embracing your blackhead energy too late? I was a cool girl type, and my ex now is in love with the one that is making him chase. He is avoidant. Is it reversible? I think the best thing that you can do in a situation like that is to let him be with her. Because um, even if things don't work out and ultimately he wants to come back, which ultimately I don't recommend entertaining, he's going to want to know that you weren't in the same place he left you in. He wants to know that, okay, if I'm not in her life, she's going to continue growing and progressing. Because ultimately, don't we want to be with a person who is leveling up, who isn't stagnant? But the thing that is very unattractive is to let a man know and show him that even if he is with another woman, that you are going to be the one waiting for him to come home to you, because that is not feeding his desire to become better. It's actually making him feel entitled to you, and you will continue to stay in the role of his mother. So true. My dismissive avoidant ghosted me, and we recently got closure and clarity 6 months later, and he said he was embarrassed, and that's why he didn't reach out sooner. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you have no idea how much a guy could be carrying, um, and how much he could want to speak to you, but his own ego and his own embarrassment stops him. Because that's the thing, men were raised to, conceal, don't feel, never appear weak, and just always be a man. And so oftentimes they will wait for you to be the one that reaches out first. But that's the thing. If you are the one to reach out first after a long period of no contact, then you're putting a lot on the line, because how they respond is really going to trigger you. Even if you think, oh, you know what, enough time has passed, it's not that big of a deal. If they don't respond well, you're going to feel like an idiot. You're going to feel like, oh my God, why did I do that? And that's the thing. For what? For a little validation, knowing that he feels bad about what he did to you, that's ultimately not going to change anything. Is it? Is it going to change anything for you knowing that, he felt guilty for a little bit? So at the end of the day, you can never get back together with an avoidant successfully. I will say that I have seen cases with clients where they did go for, an extended period of no contact. I'm talking years, years. And then they ended up coming together and things ended up working out. But that's the thing. Real change when it comes to your own attachment style comes from, months or even years. Sometimes they have to date other people that end up humbling them. Sometimes they have to even marry other people that end up teaching them lessons that you couldn't. There are certain lessons people only learn in your absence. And sometimes that absence can be, 6 months, sometimes it can be years or multiple years. And so I think ultimately the best thing that you can do is not to hold on to hope for, one day he's going to show up and be the man that you need. And instead, I need you to close the gap between where you are right now and where you need to be, because that is ultimately how you stop a man from wasting your time. It's by constantly having your goals and dreams at the forefront of your life. And that is actually what avoidants find attractive. Someone that has a life that they're not easily pulled away from, someone that has that emotional diversification. And I talk about this in some of my YouTube videos, but if you're going to make a relationship work with an avoidant, you have to be so diversified, meaning that the same way a financially independent millionaire has, 7 sources of income, I think that an emotionally independent person has several sources of emotional validation, reassurance, and regulation. So an avoidant will see, wow, okay, she has a really full life. She has friends, she has family. And so he knows, okay, she's not going to expect so much from me emotionally, because how often do you get into a relationship with an avoidant and you want them to be your absolute everything? You want them to be, your travel partner, your best friend, your confidant, all of these things. That can feel overwhelming to an avoidant. And if you go into a relationship with that mindset, they can often feel engulfed, like they're suffocated, thinking, oh my God, here we go again. I have to constantly be there for her. But when you have a life that's so full, where you get that from multiple sources, then he feels like, wow, okay, like I'm free to come and go in a healthy way. I'm not saying that he's cheating on you, but he feels like, wow, okay, I can be successful in the role of her partner. My daughter's father has apologized many times before, but it never feels sincere because he always ends up repeating the same mistake. I just recently went minimal contact and it feels terrible. That's the thing. It's painful either way. It's painful to be in a relationship where you're constantly being disrespected and feeling like your concerns are falling on deaf ears. It's painful watching the people around you get into healthy relationships and for people to grow and develop, become the best version of themselves and be happy while you continue to look happy, hoping that one day your partner is going to see your worth and finally treat you like you're worthwhile. That's hard. It's also hard to walk away and maintain no contact and to respect yourself. But one actually yields a result that you want. It yields a result of, okay, maybe eventually I'm going to meet a person who doesn't need to be potty trained, someone who sees my worth from the beginning and never puts themselves in a position to lose me. And so understand that it's hard either way. And so you choose your hard. I hate that I have to not love him for him to want me. That's hell. I don't think it's necessarily that you have to stop loving him for him to love you. I think that you just have to love yourself more. You always have to love yourself more. And the thing is that once you start embodying that energy, people sense it from a mile away because it ends up bleeding into all of your behaviors, in the way you treat yourself, in the way you walk away from situations sooner, in the way you advocate for yourself in arguments. And so I think that ultimately that's something that you need to do anyway. whether it's in a relationship with him or the next person. You have to love yourself more. You are the person that you are going to spend the rest of your life with, and you are the person that you've spent your entire life with. And so, regardless, you've known this person for a shorter period of time. And so, your loyalty to yourself has to be greater than your loyalty to him. I left him after 14 months. Then I gave him another chance, even though I knew it was a mistake. Then we got engaged, and in 4 months, I left him for good. I blocked him and moved on. That's the thing. At least you walked away. It's far better to admit you walked into the wrong room than to feel so embarrassed that you end up going through with it and you spend your entire life wishing you had walked away sooner. Of course, the best time to walk away was like long ago, but you can't change the past. You can only change what you do now. And the thing is that what's ultimately going to change your life is the steps that you take right now and what you're going to do moving forward. And so just consider it a lesson. I don't understand your point about emotional diversification. I'm a secure person. I run a business and lead a team, but sometimes I just need my partner's support once in a while. If even that feels overwhelming to them, can we ever truly rely on them emotionally? That's the thing. If you feel like there are certain things that come up in your business that make you feel like, man, I just need my partner right now, then obviously communicate those things. And if he's able to meet your needs and he's able to do that for you, then yeah, that makes them reliable. But I think it's different when you're going through something quite difficult and you really just need your partner than needing that from your partner every single day, 24/7, 365. I think that ultimately you have to have a community that is going to sustain you and that's going to fill you up. And also, it stops you from becoming codependent on your partner. How would you handle things with a partner who is lustful? I wouldn't. I wouldn't handle things. A lustful man will never be satisfied. And that's the thing. Addictions aren't just to alcohol and drugs, it's also to pornography. And that's the thing. It's not just him being lustful, it's also the inability to delay gratification. And that's the thing. It's going to show up in very insidious ways. And it's going to absolutely eat you alive. And ultimately, you need to be with someone who has that discipline. Otherwise, you are putting your own emotional well-being at risk. And so I wouldn't handle it at all. I would just walk away. I know women who have been broken up with usually ask questions to try and understand if our ex is now in a rebound relationship. But how do we know when we are or were the rebound relationship? Oh, I like this question. How do you know if you're the rebound relationship? Is when he talks about his ex in a very derogatory way. He hates his ex so much. This, that, and the other. You guys got together right after the breakup. It wasn't even 1 month. It was within like the next 3, 4 months. He just immediately got into a relationship with you. Let's say they were living together and he immediately wanted you to move into the apartment. And you thought, wow, like this is a guy that's very intentional about me. When really he was just looking for someone that was going to fill that role. So he didn't actually feel the loss of his relationship. So I would say that is number one. Another sign that you are a rebound, if he takes time to bring you around his friends, like he doesn't really want you to meet his friends or his family. He kind of keeps you a secret. He doesn't want to post you. I think it either shows up like that or he goes like the complete other route where he's posting you everywhere and he's flaunting you, showing everyone just how over his ex he is. So I think that it's either one or the other. I think a healthy relationship takes time to develop. And so if you see him moving very quickly, I think that's a red flag. I think another sign that you're in a rebound relationship is if he tries to get you to morph into who she is. So, for example, let's say, she was really big into running and they ran together and really run at all. Maybe you just lift weights and he wants to do those runs with you and he's like, "Oh, those things are just really important to me." And then you later realize that he takes you on this running track that he only ever did with her, or if he just does certain things that make you realize, wow, he actually isn't over her. If he keeps certain mementos, if he can't let go of certain things, like if he can't get rid of pictures or certain items of hers, you're a rebound. Thank you for your incredible content. You have motivated me to embrace and love myself, not seeking worth on anyone else other than God. I'm okay now letting go and focusing on my growth. Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Honestly, that is what the mission is. The mission is to get you guys the love and respect you deserve. Let's see. Would you confront someone who doesn't put effort in or ghost? I think that when a person isn't putting effort in, sometimes that is the most loving thing that they can do. You should be able to go into situations and see, okay, let this person give what they want to give. And let me ask myself, is that enough for me? Is that good enough for me? And you decide. Because ultimately, if they really did care about you, if you really were that girl that was like, I need to be with her, you would see that. And so if there's something in your gut that is telling you, you know what, I'm just another girl on the roster, like he doesn't actually take me seriously, let it starve. The best way to actually get rid of something is to let it starve. Starve it of your energy and your attention. I'm not saying ghost, because the thing is that to ghost is like, I am never going to speak to you again. But what I am saying is to raise the price of your attention, meaning if you used to reply to a hi text or what are you doing text at 11 p.m., don't reply to those things anymore. Don't reply to him just liking your Instagram story. And if he wants to step up, then you can answer, but if he's not, then don't engage. Lustful men are the worst. Mine was paying for OF while I was pregnant, and I found out when I was going through PPD. Don't do it. Yeah, you know, he reaches out once a week. That's the thing. Um, yeah, let him feel the loss of you. So Haley Bieber is a rebound. Absolutely. If he obsessively talks about her or their past, then you are the rebound. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. Happy Friday. Yeah. What are your other questions? Also, I think I'm getting. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I think another sign that you are in a rebound relationship is if you notice he doesn't really want to talk about the future too much. Like, let's say he was engaged before and now he's just like, you know what, I'm kind of just happy, never getting married. I noticed that, my ex made me pay for all of these things and now I'm worried that the next girl is going to take advantage of me financially and so he doesn't want to pay for anything. Yeah, that's a sign that the guy isn't healed, and also he doesn't have any interest in actually bettering himself for you. What is your take on how much to share on a first date, oversharing, etc.? I think that when it comes to first dates, it should be fun, it should be exciting. And so, do I think that you should get into the details of why your last relationship ended and all the things that he did that you put up with? No. I mentioned this at the beginning of the live, but I think that there are certain things that should only stay between you and a therapist, you and a trusted coach, you and your journal, because um, you wouldn't do that in any other situation. I want you to think of it like in court. You know, when they say anything that you can and say will be held against you, actually, that's when you're arrested. You should take that to heart, because how often have you overshared on the first date about certain insecurities that you had or certain things that you tolerated in your last relationship, and he ends up doing the same thing or even worse. And so I think that when you talk about the first date, you should talk about, where you are going. Don't focus so much on the past. Focus on, okay, like this is where I'm going. This is what I want, because that's a thing. That's more important. Where you've been is ultimately irrelevant, but where you're going, that is ultimately what's going to communicate to them and show them if you guys are actually compatible. How to deal with post breakup, like seeing him around, acting fine with other women. I need out of this relationship, but my insecurities about these situations are making it harder. Can a relationship that starts as a rebound for both people actually turn into something stable and lasting? Okay, let's start with the first one. When it comes to dealing with things post breakup and seeing him, walk around, I think that you should avoid as much as possible seeing this person. If you go to the same grocery store, if you go to the same gym, ultimately your healing has to come first. And I know you're going to be upset that, you know what, well, this was a part of my routine and I did these things. Okay, do you want to heal? Do you want to move past this? Because the thing is that if you continue to allow these things to affect you, then you're never going to heal and it's going to take a lot longer. And so I want you to think about the future that you want to create and take actions that support that version of you, not this past version of you that wants all these answers, that wants to figure out, why they acted this way, what did she have that I didn't? That's irrelevant. Okay. Can a relationship that starts as rebound for both people actually turn into something stable and lasting? Personally, I think that no, it isn't, because both of you guys have to deal with the baggage from your previous relationship. And that's the thing. You could be doing all the work, but are they? And what are the chances that you guys are doing the work at the same time, at the same level, and you guys aren't going to end up sabotaging the relationship? I think it's just quite messy and I would not recommend it. Why does my ex keep reaching out and speaking to me as friends? He's the one who initiated the breakup, but is texting me every day and sharing what he's up to. I just don't understand why. Because he wants to keep you in his back pocket. He wants you to be his Polly Pocket. This people pleasing Polly Pocket that is always there for him when he needs it, this convenient carry that is going to support him and like essentially emotionally empower him in the meantime while he's looking for the next woman he's going to be with. And so if he does that, don't even respond. He wants to be friends. Okay, be friends with your local pastor. Go do something nice. Go donate to your local food bank. Why is he texting you? Like, leave this man alone. Uh let's see. Next question. So it's a bad idea to write an email for closure after I left the avoidant. Do not write an email. Do not write an email. Men do not respond to long paragraphs or novels, okay? No, that's not. If you're going to say anything, I want you to understand that soliloquies, no. Haiku, maybe. A couple sentences, very to the point, maybe. But ultimately, the closure is not something that another person gives to you. It's something that you give to yourself by closing the gap between where you are now and where you need to be. What's your opinion of exes that block you but keep checking your IG using other accounts? Um, they're obsessed with you, Rebecca. They want you so bad, but they don't want to show you that. And so what they're doing is they're giving you a false image that they're actually done with you, that they don't want to see you, that they just want to move on. When really they're obsessed with you, checking your Instagram story. You have a fan, essentially. You have a fan that is overly concerned in what you're doing over focusing on their own healing. And so do with that information what you will. What if he says he thought we were going to grow old together, but also would avoid any conversation about marriage and we were 5 years into the relationship with a child and live together? This man is future faking, okay? Anybody can say anything. I want you to look at their actions, okay? I want you to live your life like you are Van Gogh, okay? You are sitting there and you're painting the beautiful picture that is your life, whether he's going to be in it or if he's not. But you are not going to stop what you're doing, and you're not going to let a man distract you from painting this beautiful picture that is your life. And you don't hear shit, okay? Like Van Gogh, like he cut off his ear or whatever. You're deaf. You're deaf. Results. actions, behaviors. That's actually what shows you who a man is. What a man talks about, that's who he wants to be, but what he does, that's who he truly is. What is your stance on blocking? I think that, okay, personally, I will tell you what I did. When it came to getting over my fiance, when I was really like I was set in my way to like I was going to get out of this situation, I blocked him. I blocked every single one of his family members, every single one of his friends, any person that I met during that relationship, I blocked them on every social media platform you can imagine. And that's one thing to do it on Facebook for like 30 people, but to find these people on every single platform, that takes some dedication. And that was the best thing I ever did for myself because it also made me ask the question when I posted on social media, am I doing this for me or am I doing this because I hope he'll see it? And that's ultimately what allowed me to step into my full authentic self. Because when I started this social media page, I was okay if he never saw anything that I did, if he never saw an ounce of success that I got. And it ended up being the most healing experience of my life. And if you're going to block someone, block them for good. Don't block and then unblock and then, see what they're up. No. Block them for good and then move on. And ultimately, if you can, not creep their social media profiles and not see if their following has gone up or down or whose social media they're liking without blocking them, then go ahead and do that. But for me, I needed that burn the boats approach of, okay, I am going all out. I am blocking all of these people so I never look back. And I'm only focusing on where I'm going. And then that's what I would do. I would ground myself every single day and be like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. These are the actions that I'm taking. And I think that is incredibly beneficial for women to do when they're starting over. And I think too often women will go to traditional therapy. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but I am saying that there's only so much benefit that can come from talking about the problem over and over again. And ultimately, what's going to change your life are the actions that you take that are going to serve yourself. And that version of you that's on that vision board that you have on your Pinterest board, that mood board, whatever, that's a different person. That person has different habits, different beliefs, different behaviors that you don't currently possess. And so you need to start acting in alignment with that person if you want to get those results because it's about um, stepping into the identity that makes those results inevitable. That's ultimately going to help you manifest the fastest. My friend's husband cheated on her multiple times. She got to the point where she now cheats on him and they have an open relationship. She's angry and resentful. Is she weak to stay? The thing is that I don't think it's about being weak. I understand why women stay. And the thing is that I've talked to clients from all over the world that have, different backgrounds that not every situation looks the same. And so I understand why people stay. And um sometimes it's beneficial for them to stay. Sometimes they're financially set up in such a way that, they're actually fine being married to someone that, that they don't necessarily like, but they're able to explore other connections that end up, fulfilling them. But I think that, um, judging other people and their situation it's not going to change your life. And so I think ultimately your priority should be on making yourself happy because, what someone else does in their life has very little to do with me and the success I experience and me reaching my fullest potential. And I think that's where your focus should be. When a guy gives a girl his number without her asking for it, is he playing a game? Maybe. I'm not sure. I think I would need more context. But it seems that he's interested. Hi, what to do if I was dating long distance 9 to 10 months? It was going good, yet he's gone strange. How can a guy like someone be so shy, scared to say what he thinks? LOL. Sometimes I say, swear this. His birthday's coming up. I want to do my own thing to focus on myself. Yet I feel like he's starting to forget about me when I am around him. He talks about corn stars to show off. Number one is you have a pen pal at best. You have a pen pal. and this person is continuing to do exactly whatever they want. And so I think that, um, yeah, if they're talking about corn stars to show off, this is just nonsense. Advice: if on an app he wants to talk away from the app straight away. No, keep it in the app. Keep it in the app, because the thing is that as soon as you go off the app to another platform, he thinks that he's actually gotten some progress. And the thing is that he hasn't gotten shit. He needs to earn everything that you give to him. Okay. You keep your conversation in the chat until after you've gone on 1 to 2 dates that are successful, until you see some progress, until you see some investment, because otherwise you're giving him something that he doesn't deserve, because you're giving him the impression that, oh, things are actually going to go somewhere. No. Um, OMG, he's literally calling me right now. Let it go to voicemail. Yeah. Yeah. I think he wants control again. I wouldn't mind that, yet there was more to it why I took the access away. Yeah, I think that in a situation like this, you need to really just walk away and really ask yourself, like, can I really be cared for and loved in this way by this person forever like this? Probably not. What other questions do you guys have? I think I'm answering all of them. Let me double check. Advice on how to get over someone in your when in your mind you know they're not right for you, so you left, but you're emotionally missing them. Something that I recommend to my clients, it's in the Emotional Mastery Workbook, and it's called the What's the Story exercise. And so essentially what it is I want you to write down on paper the story you are telling yourself about this person, because oftentimes when you leave emotionally unavailable people or people that aren't good for you, there's a story you tell yourself to rationalize staying or rationalize how great they are, or you are so invested in the potential of who they're going to become in the future when they finally get that job, when they finally, heal their trauma, whatever. You are dating this person who they like, the person they are today, not who they could potentially be in the future. And if you're constantly invested in the potential of the person, there's something that you refuse to come to terms with about their reality. And so if you get that all on paper and you write down the story and then you highlight the inaccuracies, the things that you know aren't 100% correct, and then you rewrite that story that is free of those inaccuracies and you ground yourself in with the facts of the situation, that is what is going to help you get over them, because you are understanding that, wow, this person actually doesn't exist. You're mourning uh like a ghost. You're not actually mourning the person. And ultimately, if that person did care for you in that way, if that person really wanted to make this relationship work, then they'd show up, but they didn't. And so instead of romanticizing, them not meeting your needs in the form of thinking, oh, well, they have this childhood trauma and I know they really want to, understand that your life is precious and you have this one life to live, and you can't wait for a person to show up. You have to be able to show up for yourself and be that person that you need, so that you show other people that you're willing to walk away. My ex ran to the girl he told me not to worry about within days of leaving the house. He professed feelings to her, lived with her. Then she wanted to leave and grow into the man she wants him to be. Then she asked him to leave and grow into the man she wants him to be. Oh my God. Um, let's see. If during a talk after the breakup, he asks if you slept with someone or a specific person, would you say no? You told me last week, but I was a little overwhelmed and forgot what you said. I think that when it comes to a situation like this, if you guys were broken up, then it doesn't matter. Then he doesn't actually You don't owe him anything. And oftentimes, men will do this to test you because they don't actually hold themselves to that same standard. And so they'll end things. They'll go and sleep with the whole cheerleading team, with the girl that, he told you not to worry about, with the coworker that he hates so much. And he'll say, "You know what? It's not a big deal." And then he'll turn around and he'll ask you the same question. And let's say you didn't even sleep with the person. Let's say you only kissed them, you only went on a date with them. It is like the worst thing possible. I want you to think of it like this. When a man cheats, a woman says, "Did you love her?" But when a woman cheats, a man says, "Did you sleep with him?" And so, do you see how the mentality is just completely different? Like for women, it's more so the emotional aspect, but for men, it's like the ego. I think the best thing that you can do is to really ask yourself, is this a person that my partner would need to worry about? Because if it's not actually helpful to you two reconciling, then I don't think that he deserves to know. I think you can just say no. And the thing is that you guys were broken up. It's not that you cheated on him. Let's see. In order to date her, they stay in contact. He moves states to be close to her. We spoke recently and everything was going good. I made him have that conversation about her. He confessed he was in love with her, but that she didn't want him until he is in his prime. I let him go for good, even if he didn't want to. I let him go so he can pursue the one he truly loves. Yeah, and the thing is I think you should cut off contact because I don't think that's healthy for you that you're helping him be with um, somebody else. And I don't know, there's something about that that just doesn't quite sit right with me. Yeah. What are some other questions you have? Okay. What is the question? Let me know. Realizing that I wasted my time. Hmm. What's the question? See. Is it good to give It's a good thing to give space. I think that space is critical for a relationship. I kind of want you to think of it like doing your nails, in that when you're building a relationship with someone, I think that slow and steady is best. And so sometimes when you give the relationship some time to breathe, it actually ends up building a stronger foundation, in that you allow this person to miss you and you allow yourself time to figure out, okay, do I actually want to see this person again, or am I just seeing them out of habit? Signs? Okay. Hinge versus Bumble. Personally, I think that Hinge is not so great. I personally prefer Bumble, but that's just me. Um, how do you realize? Okay, getting over realizing that you wasted your time and you did so many things incorrectly. By realizing that there's no amount of self-loathing or um, just anger that you're holding towards yourself that's actually going to improve the situation. What's going to improve your situation is when you bring your shame to light and you actually feel empathy for that version of you and you understand that, you know what, you were just doing these things because you were trying to get your needs met, and that you're a person who actually wants to value another person and who wants a meaningful connection. And I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong about that, but I think that you should pay attention to, things that, yeah, you may not have done 100% correctly, but now you know what to do moving forward. Because you can either continue to beat yourself up right now and have this shame spiral, or you can be like, okay, you know what, this version of me did this and I got a certain result, and now if I want different, I have to move different, and so this is what I'm going to do differently now that I have um, all this new information. And that's the thing. What successful person do you know that hasn't made mistakes? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so understand that that's just a part of it. Part of life and part of, being in these relationships is understanding that there are going to be times when you think, "Oh my god, I can't believe I accepted that." There's times when I even feel that way about certain things I've accepted in the past, and I'm like, "LA, what were you thinking?" But now I wouldn't change anything about it because it's led me to where I am right now, and I'm really happy with where I am right now. I really like who I am. I love the relationships that are in my life. I love that people treat me incredibly well. And so this is all part of a story that I will tell later on. And that's the thing. People with the most interesting life stories are people that have gone through hell and back. I want you to think about any movie that you enjoy watching, okay? What makes the movie worth watching is watching the hero's journey, watching a person fail, and then watching that comeback, watching that montage of them working really hard and putting the work in and then finally succeeding. Now that is something that's worthwhile. And so just understand that's a part of your hero's journey, and that's a part of your memoir that you're going to write later on. Sign someone is love bombing when they move really quickly. When they say, "Oh, I've never felt this way about anybody else before," um, really just trying to speed up the connection, and it doesn't make sense for the length of time you've known someone. I think it's different when you've known this person for years and you've been friends for years and you have that rapport, you have that trust. But if it's with someone that you just met, like, that's really fishy. Now, if someone actually likes you a lot, they will be willing to go at your pace. They will be willing to make you feel comfortable. They will be willing to, put their immediate needs aside and their desire for you. And they will think, okay, like, does she feel comfortable? Does she feel safe? And ultimately, that's a connection that you should be feeding into. Yes, I blocked contact and blocked him and her completely out of all platforms. Um, when is it a good time to give access again? Never. Never. Going through a divorce and haven't been single in 17 years. Not ready to date, but want to prep myself for when the time comes. Um, what games do guys try to play to chase how to recognize a trauma bond and stop it? Okay, games men play, they will uh they'll plan a date, okay? They'll plan a date with you. They'll say, "You know what? Saturday night, I want to take you out this, that, and the other." The date comes, they are nowhere to be found. They haven't reached out, they haven't called, they haven't. You need to make other plans, because what he wants to do is he wants to test your emotional reactivity. He wants to see, okay, is she going to text me first? Is she going to get mad at me saying, "You know what? We made all these plans. I can't believe you did this." He wants to see if you are going to be bothered, because whether men do this consciously or subconsciously, it's they want to see if you're actually into them. And so understand that ultimately the behavior that is going to be repeated is not the one that you ask for, it's the one that you reward. And so you reward his inconsistency, his testing behaviors with nothing. You don't reach out, you make other plans, and if he texts you last minute, 10, 15 minutes before, you don't even reply. You respond the next day saying, "Hey, I made other plans. I didn't hear from you. All the best." Because then you're teaching him how to treat you. Because if you show that you'll tolerate it, then that becomes an invitation for more. I think Also, you can drop in the chat, games men have played with you to make them chase, and I'll read them out. But I think another thing men do to make you chase is they will bring up all these other women that are so obsessed with them, that really like them, and whatever, to kind of show you that they're valuable. When really it's just them trying to make you feel insecure. And so, how you deal with that game is you completely change the conversation. You talk about how, you know what, I was really excited to go to Lululemon to get that new Lululemon set that they have in that color that I like that's gonna match my nails, and you just completely talk about something else, because the more attention and energy you give these other women that he's bringing up, the more interesting they become. And so, yeah, I think that's another game that men play. And how to recognize a trauma bond and stop it is if you connect right off the bat and things are very intense, and they tell you all about their trauma, and then you slowly see that trauma unfold in their behavior, and you think you're being very self-aware. You think, "Oh, okay, like now I know where I can help them." No. They want to see if you are going to tolerate it. They want to see if you are going to accept them in all the ways their exes weren't able to tolerate. You don't tolerate any nonsense, okay? It's perfectly fine to be empathetic and understanding of a person's childhood, but you can still hold a boundary in that same breath and know, okay, you know what? You need time by yourself to focus on this, because I'm not going to give you any more of my time. Um you said never for access. How come? I sort of miss his voice. This man has already disrespected you. He's inconsistent. He has shown you that he's lustful by talking to you about these other corn stars. I think that to some degree, you just need to be able to respect yourself and not give this person any more of your time, respectfully. Push and pull, leading a conversation real. Yeah, hot and cold behavior. Why reach out for validation, assurance, but are in a relationship? They look for validation because they feel like the more validation they get from women, the more of a man they are. And that just shows you what a red flag it is to be in a relationship with them. Because if they're doing this with someone that they're not in a relationship with, that's ultimately emotionally cheating, is it not? And so I think that um, it's problematic all around. And so he's doing it because that's the only way he can feel, sufficient. And free therapy, yeah. He said sorry for not letting me know that he was going to make other plans while he was supposed to make plans with me. He then went away for 3 days, and he said sorry, yet wanted to hear no, that's the thing. He's saying sorry, but then he's doing another. And then every time that you forgive him, it's showing him that it's not that big of a deal. And so you actually end up enabling your own mistreatment. And so at some point you have to draw the line and say, you know what, you're not actually going to speak to me this way. You're not going to disrespect me like that. And that is ultimately how you take your power back. Like it's very problematic. Yeah. Avoid and push pull. Yeah. Yeah. Excuses for being MIA. Yeah. If he has an excuse for being MIA, like, do not buy it. Like, he's not in a ditch somewhere. It's not that his entire family died and that he's just going through the toughest time. No. There's a reason for it. And so ultimately, you need to take that as a sign of, you know what? I'm going to walk away. I'm going to feed into myself. I'm not going to tolerate this. Because that's the thing. He already has someone in his life who has this unconditional love towards him. And that is his mother. And you are not that. How to deal with a situation when they pull back suddenly. Do not, do not overcompensate. Men will often do this to test if you are emotionally attached to them. And so when they do this, I need you to let them give um I need you to give them the space that they want, that they created, and wait for them to close the gap. Because when you stay grounded, when you emotionally regulate, you show, you know what? This connection isn't going to make me or break me. And it's really unhealthy if he does this and then you overcompensate and then he sees that as a way to control the dynamic because he knows that you can't handle it. You can't handle it if he goes away for too long. And that's not a healthy relationship. That's not something that you want to um, feed into. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to end the live here. I did hear back from Instagram about my accounts being compromised. So I do have to take this. But it was really great connecting with all of you and about sharing these. I'm not sure if I'm going to. I'll have to, yeah, I'll have to see. But, anyways, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.